this.
Read my Bible.
You know.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Is anybody here? Hello. Hello, is anybody here? Mm. Someone talk to me in the chat if you are here, besides you, sir. Oh my goodness. Maybe 16. I definitely have to edit the thing. Can I get a thumbs up, producer, if you can hear me well? Because I'm about to get started. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? See or no? There we go. Okay. Thumbs up. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Portia. I think it's Portia. Where are you watching from, Portia? Good to see you. Good to hear from you. I'm on a delay, so I'm gonna get started in 1 second. I don't like to wait too long, but I feel like you're not really talking to nobody. It's a little hard. Chicago. Oh my goodness. I want to go to Chicago. That seems beautiful. That seems beautiful. Well, thank you for tuning in. Everybody else is gonna have to catch the replay. I want to do a bit more of these lives. I call it lounge and lift just because the idea is to be a bit more laid back, not really heavy teaching, but just share my heart a little bit, maybe answering some questions that viewers have in our lovely audience and community. So, yeah, the Lord had really been laying on my heart to start doing more lives, and I'm just trying to be obedient to that. And I thought, why not start in February, the first week of the February? So I'm calling these Lounge and Lift. Lounge and Lift. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, and I didn't quite know where I wanted to steer, where I wanted to land as far as a topic today, but the Lord really has me on these valleys. So if you watched my most recent episode that just came out on Friday, I'm talking heavily about valleys and what they are and what they mean and how they show up in our lives, because a lot of us have been in valley seasons, and I have been in a very deep valley season. And I just wanted to share a bit more of my heart on that. I see a couple more people came in. Y'all, talk to me in the chat. Like, how you doing? How are you feeling? It's Sunday evening. This works better when it's a conversational flow. Help me. Help me. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing on Sunday, this Sunday evening? Please let me know. Let me know. And I also love to answer any questions that you guys might have about my latest episodes if you've watched them. Please put some comments in the chat. Put some comments in the chats. Please, please, please. Yeah, but valleys, right? So I have personally been in a really deep valley season, and it's been probably the hardest season of my life, I can say. Just because I've never really felt so alone in my journey with the Lord. I've had moments, where I've felt that, but this season just feels a lot different. And I am having to shed a lot from the past and history and people and old places, mindsets, all the things. So that has been pretty difficult for me, pretty difficult. And when you are walking a path and the Lord starts to say, oh, you need to go another way, then that could be really hard. It can be very hard. For me, it came up in the realm of family, and sometimes you feel as if all you know is the people that you've been around for your whole life, and the Lord tells you to go a different way, then it can really feel like you are walking a very lonesome road, for sure. For sure. Y'all put in the chat, let me know how you're doing this Sunday evening. We just lounging and lifting a little bit. How are y'all doing? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. But I feel like I've never heard the word valley so much before in my life, outside of these last couple weeks. And God has just been valley, 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 valley. And so I've just been researching what the valley is. Psalm 23 has just been ringing in my spirit. I've been hearing songs in my mind about revival and about dry bones and the valley of dry bones. And so I've just been researching that and trying to sit more with the Lord on what the valley means for me and what that can mean for a lot of us, because I think the valley kind of gets a bad rep now that I am researching it more, and as I'm sitting in the season, I think we miss a lot of nutrients that comes from the valley season itself, So that was the main goal I had when I was sharing about the valley and the advantages that it has. And I just wanted to share a bit more because the Lord would not let up on me, y'all. He will not let up. So Psalm 23 again, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, like the valley of the shadow of death, a shadow means that it's not real, right? That just means that it is literally a shadow of what looks like death. It looks like death is trailing, but it's not real, and it implies that it feels like death though, because it's the shadow of death. And sometimes fear looks like death. Sometimes uncertainty looks like death. We are unsure of the unknown, giving up old ways, old habits, old people. Again, mindsets, when we're feeling mistreated by people or abandoned by people, that can feel like a death when it's all you know. Um, or when there doesn't seem to be another way out. And I've learned that we truly don't value life until we are facing death. You know, so like, why is it always when we're at funerals and loved ones pass away that it's like, man, life is too short. We need to get together. Like, put your pettiness aside. Let's link up and all the things, right? Like, that is our response when people pass away. And it's in those moments where we actually realize, wow, like we're on a time clock here. Like we start to value life more when we face death, when we see that death is possible. So I just want us to take an inventory of what our shadow might be, because your shadow of death might be different than what David was referencing and what he was talking about. So obviously he was running away from Saul, and throughout his life he dealt with all this all these unmet needs he had from his family and dysfunction with his father and with his children, and even like the lust and everything that he dealt with. So yeah, like what is your shadow? What is your shadow of death? What does that look like for you? What does it look like for you? And he was also a shepherd, which I just, y'all, I've been on valleys and I've been on shepherds and sheep. So the Lord has been dealing with me a lot about that, about him being the shepherd and us being the sheep. But yeah, the valley is a very interesting place, and I think the Lord does a lot of good things in the valley. And I think he desires for us to know that life is possible, not just on the other side of the valley, the mountain, right? But it's also possible within the valley. There is vitalization there, there is a life in the valley. We are able to do life in the valley. And when you look in the Bible, there are so many different mentions of valleys. It's all about, they traveled to this valley, they traveled to that valley, this land was separated with this valley. So they did life in the valley. They really did in biblical times. And I think that speaks a lot to God's character also, because if he created this earth with valleys in mind and he's using it as a way to communicate with us, I just think it's so beautiful that he shaped the earth with us in mind to teach us about his ways and about how he is with us also in that time. Anyone else log in? Let me know in the chat. Where you watching from? Where are you watching from? I see a couple more viewers. Where are you watching from? We're just talking valleys, and we're just lounging and lifting again. But yes, valleys. And also the Lord brought to my remembrance Ezekiel and the valley of dry bones. And so that's kind of just been blowing my mind a little bit. But in Ezekiel 37, God gives Ezekiel this vision of this valley of dry bones. And they have no life in them. And Ezekiel is walking on these bones. They're literally just becoming dust, right? And this vision and this imagery is God telling his children that they are going to have hope again. He's giving them hope for the future when they're in these hopeless times, and that he's going to revitalize the nation. He's going to revitalize their souls and their spirits in the midst of everything that's going on. So Ezekiel was literally surrounded by death. Again, the shadow of death. These were dead people, metaphorically dead people. It was a vision, so it wasn't real. But these bones had no life to them. They appeared lifeless, just no spirit, no soul, just complete lifelessness within them. And during this time, the Israelites were under Babylonian exile. So they were experiencing this level of oppression. Again, it all came back to their disobedience with God and them wanting to serve other gods and other idols, right? But the oppression that they had experienced with the Babylonians led to this hopelessness that they were feeling, because they were very oppressed. They were very oppressed, and a lot of them they had no home. They had no home, so they were living in different places. They were aliens in different lands. They literally had given up their home. Their homes were demolished because of exile. But in this oppression, and me just reading that particular section of Ezekiel, I think it's 1, 2, Ezekiel 37, 1 and 2. But in reading that and watching how God gave Ezekiel the vision, I learned that oftentimes in the valley, there is a partnership that happens with us and with God. And I think that it's a beautiful metaphor for the way God desires for us to do life. So I learned that the Lord desires partnership with us in the valley. And I say that because God tells Ezekiel to prophesy to the bones, right? He tells Ezekiel to prophesy to the body. So the bones start to, they get tendons and they get muscles and tissue and skin. And then he tells them to call on the winds, and the winds enter into the bodies of these soldiers that were in this valley. So God could have just done it himself, right? Like we know through the story of creation, God spoke and there was life. So God could have done the same thing in this vision that Ezekiel saw, but he didn't. And that made me question, like, okay, Lord, like why did you do it this time and not that time? What did you need Ezekiel to see that wouldn't have been seen had you just done it for him, right? And so I thought, like, maybe it was the fact that God wanted Ezekiel to see the power and authority that God had given his children. Maybe he wanted to see the power that works within him because of the God that he serves, the God that we serve. The power is so much greater than the hopelessness and the death that we see surrounding us. Maybe he wanted Ezekiel to see that the answer truly lies in us when we choose to partner with him, right? Because bringing life into dry bones, that means that God desires life. Like he's a living God, and he specializes in bringing dead things back to life. So maybe he just wanted Ezekiel to see that he also has that power because God is with him and in him also. I think it also shows the power that we have in our own revivals. So maybe it's that God wants us to be active participants in our personal revivals, right? Like we are often looking for a moment to happen or waiting for a person to come by and, I don't know, just say the right word to us or look for a certain confirmation or Like we're waiting for something to click in order for us to get out of the oppression that we feel, whether that be mentally or spiritually or whatever bondage it is. But God is like, I've given you power to revitalize yourself, to have revival yourself, or revival to start within you. So we need him to do it, obviously, because again, he told Ezekiel, hey, speak to it and command it to do that. So we can't have revival without God's spirit, first of all. Like, it's just not possible. But I think God was showing, like, you can, as long as you partner with me in tandem with my spirit, and you have the willpower to do it yourself, then you can also ignite your own revival, because he's given us that power, he's given us that authority. So yeah, in the valley, in that scene, in that vision, God had given Ezekiel the language to revive the people. And in the same way, when we are in a valley, God gives us language and he gives us strategy to help combat the thing that is fighting us, to help combat the things that are oppressing us. So all that to say, when we have these valley seasons, we should be we shouldn't be leaving until we've learned something. We shouldn't be leaving our valley until we have gotten something out of it. You should be leaving your valley with something. You should be leaving your valley at least with a hope, a revived hope in God's promises, in God's ways, because every valley has a mountain. Every mountain has a valley, right? But it's easier to reach the top of a mountain when you go through the valley. So your valley season should be helping you to get up that mountain. It should be pushing you to get up that mountain. Again, you should not leave your valley with nothing. You gotta leave with something. Like, you have got to lead with something. You gotta lead with something. And again, with the highs and the lows, the valleys are the lows, the mountains are the highs. The same thing with the life and death. How can we truly learn to value our high seasons, our high moments, truly experience them when we haven't experienced low seasons as well, and low moments? I think we learn to have a greater appreciation for our mountaintop moments when we remember what the valley was and what we got out of the valley as well. But we can't discredit the valley season, because it does end up working for our good. It absolutely does end up working for our good. It does, regardless of the sorrows that we feel and the complexities of the lowness that we feel. The valley ends up working for us and working for our good. Another thing that I've learned through the valley is that the valley season is also like a lesson in posture. It's also about posture. So sometimes when you up too high, you can't hear God. Or maybe our pride doesn't allow God's voice to penetrate our ears and our spirit in the way that he may need to. So sometimes God has to humble us. Sometimes we have to be brought to a low place. Sometimes God has to get us to low ground in order for him to give us that whisper and actually hear, in order for us to be attuned to his voice. Sometimes we just don't listen, y'all. Like that's it. Sometimes we just don't listen. Sometimes we're just not humble enough. Sometimes we're just too prideful to hear God. And that voice just starts to creep in perfectly when we are at a low position. And that doesn't mean that God doesn't desire us to go higher and be on the mountaintop. He's the God of both. He's the God of the mountain and the valley. That's good. That's the other point. Not even in my notes. Like, maybe God wants us to see that he is the God of both. He's still God, regardless of where you are. And that's the lesson That's the lesson the Israelites had to learn time and time again. He's still the God of both. Even in your disobedience, I was still with you. Even though you were disobedient, I was still there. Like, I'm still that God. And yeah, I think we forget that sometimes. It's the posture. It's the posture that matters. It is the posture that matters. Is anyone else logged in for this evening lounge and lift? Is anyone else logged in? Anyone still here? Put a comment in the chat if you are. Put a comment in the chat because my message is pretty much wrapped up. I just want to see how y'all are doing, how y'all are feeling about these valleys, about these valleys. How you doing? Yeah, I just I feel like these nights will be, well, these lounge and live moments will just be me more sharing my heart with the community. Just another way for me to, hey Kayla, hey girl, how are you doing? How are you doing? But these lounge and lives will be a bit more just me sharing my heart, where I'm coming from. Again, I just want to connect with y'all a bit more because it's kind of hard to do it over a bunch of sporadic back and forth comments. So this is my way of trying to do that. I just want to interface more, be more accessible, I should say, that because that's very important to me. I don't like people to just think that a screen um is who I am. So yeah, how have y'all enjoyed, for those who have been watching or popped in for a little bit? Have you enjoyed it? This is just a little check-in, that's all. If you have anything you want to add or say or ask, I'm going to allow a few moments for that before I hop on off here. But I hope anyone that hasn't watched or will or wanted to watch, that the replay is still just as good as the live. Yeah, I plan to do a bit more of these. I do. I plan to do a bit more. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you haven't already, please make sure that you sign up for my email list. My links are in my show notes, and I'll make sure that is there. I'm going to be sending out devotionals pretty soon. Probably not daily, but sporadically as the Lord leads. I'll be sending out some devotionals and just some encouragement to help get us through these long days and these long weeks, y'all. But yeah, lounge and lift. Lounge and lift. This is just a taste of what the future will look like. So I hope y'all enjoyed all things. And I am about to log out. I will have that replay up shortly. And per usual, until next time, you guys. Oh, I see Kayla put something in. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Kayla. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Listen, the Lord be telling my business too, and I learned it's never just for us, right? Ever. It's never just for us. So the fact that he's telling your business is good. Is good. That means he loves you, right? That means he loves you. That means he sees you. That means, yeah. So it's all good. It is all good, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Well, I love you guys. I hope this was good for you. And yeah, we'll be doing more of these. Thank you for tuning in, and everyone that will catch the replay. Hopefully, you catch it live next time. And per usual, as always, remember to stay encouraged. Okay, we gonna log out. Bye.